Welcome to New Life Live with Stephen Arterburn. For 35 years, New Life has been transforming lives one at a time thanks to the giving hearts of you, our listeners. Our goal is to provide you with wisdom from God's Word to give you hope and help in life's hardest places. If you have a question you'd like to ask today, our phone lines are open. Call 1-800-229-3000. That number again is 1-800-229-3000. Now here's today's host, Becky Brown.
Hello, everyone. We are so glad that you joined us today. It's Friday, and we're always happy about Fridays because that means we have a weekend ahead of us. And I am joined today by Chris Williams and Dr. Sheri Keffer, whose wisdom has changed all of our lives. And we're so grateful for you guys being here. We're going to take calls and answer some of your questions. Sheri, I know that you have a wealth of wisdom that you'd like to share. What do you have for us today?
You know, I was just thinking about a concept that I've talked about here on the radio from time to time, but it's in my book, Intimate Deception, Healing the Wounds of Sexual Betrayal. And it's the idea of a cheap sorry. I think a lot of times after we've done something that hurt someone, we're tempted to, we often give a cheap sorry in order to make our bad feelings go away about what we did that hurt somebody else. But it doesn't bring repair. In fact, it actually causes that person to feel unseen, unheard, and it pushes them further away. We haven't really learned the art of what it looks like to turn things around. And I talk about what it means to actually go into a process of owning and atoning. That's what restore means. It's owning the wrongs that have been done and atoning for those. And there's a central teaching in the Jewish practice, which I adore. It's actually called the teshuvah. And it's an ancient Jewish practice, but I want to just read some of the steps of the teshuvah. And I tweaked a few of them in order to kind of make sense with the infidelity, right, or porn, or whatever's gone on in the relationship. But the first step in the teshuvah is recognize what you did was wrong. Number 2 is reveal how you offended through confession. 3 is regret what you did wholeheartedly. 4 is remorse over your part by making amends. 5 is to resolve by making every effort to avoid doing whatever you did again. Number 6 is refrain from doing that thing the next time you're faced with the same situation or temptation, which means we've got to get accountable, we've got to be in a recovery process and have sobriety that we're working towards. And the last one is to repair the relationship with truth, trust, and forgiveness. And it's interesting to see how the word restore, it's shalom, means to bring somebody back to safety and peace. And in addition, shalom also carries with it the idea of a compensation for an injury, for what was lost or stolen in a sacred trespass. Like compensation for an injury. It's a much deeper concept. Shalom, to restore. It has nothing to do with a cheap sorry. These are the steps that I often use with couples that are really looking to repair a breach of trust. And again, like, thank you, Lord, Jesus being Jewish, I'm like, there's so much wisdom in these steps, and I just wanted to share them today.
I think it's great.
So powerful.
We use a term in our house, an OAR. OAR, ownership, apology, and repair. This is so much more helpful in the sense that it goes much deeper into what it looks like in specific steps. These 7 R's are really, really powerful.
I love it. Thank you so much, Sheri. See, I told you, her wisdom is amazing. And I think about that concept of a cheap sorry and how we really want to be invested in our recovery and our repair and our restoration. Gosh, thanks so much. That's going to stick with us for a while. I hope you stick with us for a while as well. We're going to take some calls after this break. We're so grateful that you're here and all the ways that you're listening, whether it is on a radio, podcast, the app, the internet, however you're getting help. We're grateful to be there with you. We'll be right back after this.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn, and for over 34 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
I'm an addict, and I'm trying to get God in my life again.
Our Christ-centered treatment programs can help you break free to embrace all that God has for your life and your family.
I just want to thank you guys for bringing me to a relationship with Jesus.
There really is help for marital problems, depression, addictions, panic attacks, and feelings of hopelessness.
I came back with so many tools to help me prepare myself to fight this struggle and this battle that I have every day.
You can start living again today, living the life God intended for you. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
They did care, and they did follow up very lovingly, and it made all the difference in my life.
Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Someone who cares is waiting at the other end of the phone. God can open the door to a better tomorrow. Call 1-800-639-5433.
To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. If you were like me, trying to take the notes on what Sheri was taking so quickly, but so good, don't worry. You can get a copy of her book, Intimate Deception, Healing the Wounds of Sexual Betrayal. Just call us, 1-800-NEW-LIFE, or go to newlife.com. You can get it there. And what chapter is it in, Sheri?
The chapter is called To Tell the Truth. And it's right in there.
I love it. Well,
page 289 to be exact.
There you go, page 289.
288
so get
and
the
289.
book, and then you get that whole list and that wisdom as well. Well, we're going to go to the callers. We are going to talk with Erica, who's calling us from Dallas and listens on SiriusXM. Hello, Erica. Thanks for calling. How can we help you today?
Yeah, thanks for taking my call. I appreciate it.
Yes.
I was calling. Basically, I just kind of wanted to get some advice about dealing with an immediate family member, specifically my mom. So I'm married. I've been married for almost 15 years. I have 2 kids, 4 and 8. And really, I'll kind of get to the gist of it quickly. She'll often text me, mainly in the evenings, complaining about my dad. And it's a lot of texting. She'll text me easily 20 to 30 texts in a row. And, early on I would answer and try to help out, maybe give advice, but I kind of stopped answering because anytime I try to help out, she never really likes what I have to say. So I really come to learn is she's just kind of venting. But it's really gotten to the point where it's really bothering me because it's always bad stuff, bringing up his parents and how bad of a job they did. Really just stuff that I don't think is appropriate. And so like I said, I don't really reply. But the problem is, so now that I have my kids, often when she comes over to hang out or we hang out with her, she'll bring it up in front of them. So I feel like it's not appropriate. And my kids are starting to kind of hear and understand what she's saying. And so for instance, the other day they asked my mom, how come you're always yelling at Grandpa? And so she'll say, oh, he can't hear good in his ear. Well, I know that that's not the truth. She's yelling because she doesn't like something that he did. So she's always trying to turn it and make it look like something, not a big deal, or basically turn it onto him. So I'm really starting to get, I don't know the right word, uncomfortable, frustrated on how to deal with it all because I don't want my kids. I really feel like it just in general, she's really starting to talk negative about him, really people in general, other family members, and that's not how I raise my kid. I try to get them to see the positives and try to encourage people, and she's really doing the opposite. But my kids are starting to catch on and kind of starting to emulate some of the stuff that she's saying. I guess I'm trying to get some advice because we see her and hang out with her often.
Well, it's a great question, Erica, and you have a lot of insight. You're recognizing and you're aware of some of the pitfalls. Chris, let's start with you. What can you help Erica in this situation? How can you help her?
Well, Erica, you're put in a really, really tough situation, right?
Yeah.
Because let me ask you this. Anyone who challenges your mom on her narrative or perspective or her behavior, what happens?
Well, she doesn't like it.
Okay, and what?
Well, for me, she tells me that she didn't raise me right, and she doesn't like how I'm being raised, but yet I'm almost 40. So I feel like I don't know, maybe that's not really what you're going for.
Well, the point of this is that if you challenge her on, or I would say just confront a negative behavior and it gets flipped back on you, I imagine that like as you walk into the room with her, inside of your body it tenses up. You go, you armor up with her.
Yes.
Okay, that's a feedback mechanism to tell you that she is not safe, right?
Okay.
Okay. And what is not safe? It's important to recognize what is the thing that's not safe. Well, in Scripture we see that verse says, "Do everything without complaining, and in doing so you will shine like stars in the universe." We got to ask why. Why is it important not to do everything without complaining? Well, because the complaint oftentimes, or a person who gets caught up in complaints, is offloading internal toxins in the atmosphere around them. And you would not want your children to grow up in a mold-infested environment, correct?
Exactly.
Yes. So this is the really, really, really tough work because it feels like we're risking relationship. And the risk of relationship is to protect the mold carrier from spreading toxins in the environment, which requires this thing that we talk about often here at New Life, and that is boundaries.
Yes.
We are not having those types of conversations here. That's not what we do. I mentioned in a previous show, I like the wisdom of Shark Tank. In Shark Tank, what they're able to do is they have this line that says, "And for those reasons, I'm out." What I like about it is they identify specific things. They don't just say, "Hey, I'm no longer doing this." They say, "No, for this reason and for this reason and for this reasons, I'm out." And it's not saying you're out with a relationship with your mom, but you're out of engaging in the toxins.
Yes.
And I think it's important that you are able to identify, even with her, those specific reasons why.
Yes.
Do you have other siblings, Erica? Are you the only daughter?
I have an older sister.
Okay. And does your mom do the same with her or no?
So she does, but not to the extent, because she'll often vent to me about my older sister, because she doesn't like, my mom will hold grudges for so long. So she's still mad about my sister, as she says, not acting right in high school. Now, my sister is older than me.
Yeah.
So she doesn't really do it as much to my sister. She will sometimes, because she'll get mad at her. So then she'll start texting her and just go on and on and on.
So
but it's usually me.
Yeah. So let me tell you what Chris was asking. It's if you draw a line in the sand with your mom, and instead of being passive to not respond to her texts, but if you actually have a conversation, put a boundary down, your mom's going to do two things. She's going to do what she did to your sister, and maybe even with your dad. She's going to make you wrong and bad, and then emotionally pull away. That's the risk, right? That's why you're really tippy-toeing around what she's doing. But in tippy-toeing around what she's doing, you're not sending a direct message. You're being passive.
I definitely agree.
Yeah.
It happened one time when I went to their house. We went to actually stay for a couple of nights, and it does happen often. So she likes to have some like wine at night, and that's the utter disaster. So that night she started drinking some wine, and she started getting very vocal. My kids were there, so I literally packed everybody up and we went home.
Yeah.
I was not going to stay. Well, the next couple of days I didn't hear from her, so I just texted to say, making sure she was okay, because she was not in a good state. And she, instead of apologizing or anything, she just said, I told her, that she drank too much wine, which we did not like and we won't be around. And she, instead of saying that she was sorry or anything like that, she just said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not a good grandma." And I was like, well, that really
Yeah,
That
it's
wasn't what I was going for.
Exactly, because she just made it about her, and that made you feel wrong and bad that you even confronted her. Because now she went to the victim seat. I'm a bad grandma instead of I did some bad
goes.
Yeah,
it always turns that way. So I think that's why I've stepped back, and I know that's not good.
Well, it's a step. You're putting some boundaries down, but let me give you the language. This is the language that needs to happen, but you've got to be braced for the consequence that's going to follow. Okay?
Okay.
But it sounds like this. And the reason your mom drinks is because she's got so much anger and bitterness that she's trying to calm her brain down at night. I'm not saying it's healthy. It's just what she's doing.
Absolutely. I agree.
What it sounds like is, hey, Mom, I am in a relationship with you because I'm your daughter, and we like being with you. So I'm entering into this conversation with you because you're important to me. That's the love part. Now the second step is, you know what? I'm not okay with you texting me negatively about Dad, and I'm not okay with you talking negatively with me about Dad in our relationship. I need peace. I need peace when we're with you. Okay?
Okay, perfect.
Now, the next step is like, you can continue to talk about Dad or text me negatively if you choose to do it. I can't stop you from doing that. But then the last step is, but if you continue to text me negatively about Dad, or if you continue to talk about him negatively around our kids, I'm going to cut back on the time that I'm able to see you.
Yeah.
Or text you, or talk to you on the phone.
Yeah.
Now that is a boundary. There's actually a consequence. She doesn't want you to move further away, but you've got to be willing to walk through that and pull the lever back if she keeps doing it. But it's got to be really clear. And I want you to listen to this call afterwards, right? You can listen because we have it on our podcast, and you can hear it again and again. And then I want you to write it down, and I want you to formulate it. And it's okay if you text it to her, because she automatically makes you wrong and bad and calls you disrespectful. But I just want there to be a strong verbal boundary, right? It's, I love you.
Yeah.
I want to spend time with you, but I'm not okay with this, right? And because I need peace, but, I want to see you. But if you do this, then I'm going to have to pull away. And it makes a declaration so she can know what's coming down the pike.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and Eric, I want to point out a relational dynamic that is common but damaging. And it's developed by a guy in the 60s named Cartman, the Cartman Triangle, or the drama triangle. I refer to it as the Bermuda Triangle of relational death, because no healthy relationship comes out alive. Okay, it enters into this space. When it enters into this Bermuda Triangle, what happens is it starts with a victim state. A person is in a victim state, and they're going to determine everyone else in their life. And there's only two possible positions a person can take: either a rescuer or a persecutor. So if you don't meet the demands of the needs or the demands of the victim, you immediately become the persecutor. If you do meet their demands on their terms, then you are the rescuer.
Which is, she's kind of had you in the role as her therapist, but you're not her therapist.
Yes.
You're her daughter. She
No,
needs
I'm not.
She needs a therapist.
Yeah,
she needs
for
a therapist,
sure,
right?
For sure.
I have suggested that.
Of course you have.
Yes.
We knew you had.
So the core fear is that if I'm not her rescuer, I will be her persecutor.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here's the bottom line. The way out of this is actually creativity. Meaning this: I'm going to make a different relationship with her. And it can be scary, because she may not be willing to come over and participate in a new, healthy, different relationship. She may be addicted to her victim position.
Yes.
But whoever this person is stuck in this place, we want to love her and care for her, but we can't be close. Because
I think that's where I struggle.
They won't allow it. They won't allow it.
Yes. Okay.
Right.
And Chris, what about the grief that Eric is going to feel even as this transition occurs.
Well, it's the fear and the grief that Sheri was referring to. Is like the consequences are going to be real, so you may need support. And the grief, and oftentimes I define the grief like this. It's called a living grief. The grief is grieving the mom that you have because you're actually grieving the mom that you never got but you deserve.
And let me add to that, you might be mother enmeshed. Moms that find a child that is there as a caretaker, it's usually a kind, loving child, they use them to meet their own needs. And so if you are mom enmeshed, it's going to feel like death for you to pull away because you don't know what it feels like to be a separate person. When you meet her needs, she loves that. You get cookies, you get rewarded. But when you actually have to pull back to be a person and draw a boundary, which is what you're doing, it's gonna be scary. Like Chris said, it's gonna hurt.
It's so powerful, Erica. We're so glad that you called. We're going to send you a copy of Take Your Life Back, but we're also going to connect you with a therapist that can help you walk through this. It's going to take more than one conversation, but it's worth having those conversations. We're so grateful that you called. We're going to be back after this.
When you give to the New Life Scholarship Fund, you're giving someone hope for a brighter future.
I was kind of in the closet and hit with my struggle. Your donation really made the difference, especially in my situation, because I would up getting laid off from my job.
At the New Life Intensives, hurting people are able to begin a new path towards healing and freedom that has an effect on all of those around them.
I think the people who support New Life financially are people that I'll never know. You know, I'll never be able to thank them personally for the gift that they gave to us. Their giving saved me, my husband, and our family from being torn apart.
To help hurting people to connect to the help they need, make your gift to the Scholarship Fund at newlife.com or by calling 1-800-NEW-LIFE and specifying scholarships.
Someone called and sponsored me to come this weekend. Whoever that is, just know that you saved a life. Literally, you saved my life.
1-800-NEW-LIFE.
I was sort of vaguely familiar that the 12 steps had some origination in the Bible. I found Life Recovery, and one of the things I liked so much was that it had such a broad appeal. It wasn't limited to just alcohol or drugs, that it was addressing a wide range of problems.
At New Life, we believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience. There are life recovery groups all over the country. They take place online, in conference calls, and in person. And if there isn't one in your area, we can help you start one. We have startup materials, leaders' guides, CDs, Bibles, and more, all with discounts available for groups. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE and ask for Terry Ward. The 12 Steps have long been a great help to people in recovery because much of the 12 Steps' power comes from the fact that they capture principles clearly revealed in the Bible.
The 12 steps is really a pattern for all of us as Christians.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. You know, with all this wisdom that we're hearing from you, Chris, we're also looking forward to our Emotional Freedom Intensive that's going to be online March 16th, where you and Steve Arterburn and Dr. Jackie McHarris will help people get unstuck and have that emotional freedom to deal with grief, to deal with some trauma, to deal with depression, and all the different ways that we get stuck. And so I'm looking forward to hearing from you then. I don't know if you want to give a personal invite to anybody who's listening that wants to join us.
Absolutely. You know, there's two people I want to talk to. One is that person who just hit a wall in your life. Everything seemed to be going well, and now all things are falling apart. And you can't figure out why, and you think it's some sort of mystical or mysterious thing going on. We're going to help you identify exactly what that is and how to get back on track. The other person is the person who just bumps up against the same issue over and over and over again. You're circling that mountain and can't find a different route. We will help you identify what that mountain is and how to get on a different route to a better place.
I love that. And we look forward to having you all join Chris, Jackie, and Steve online. You can find out about it at newlife.com. And you know what? We have a free quiz that you can take there to see if you really are emotionally free. We want to help you move forward in your life, and that's one of the ways we're going to do it. We are going to go back to the calls, and we're going to talk with Michelle, who's calling us from Colorado Springs, listens on KGFT. Hello, Michelle. Thanks for calling. How can we help you today?
Hi, thanks for taking my call. I would really like to get advice on what your thoughts are about divorce and what the Bible says about it.
Okay, well, that's a big question. Michelle, is this your marriage that we're talking about?
Yes.
Okay. Well,
what's going on?
Yeah.
Well, I'm dealing with someone with PTSD who refuses to get help, and we've tried marriage therapy, but unfortunately during marriage therapy he would take an appointment. All of our appointments were just him just seething at the mouth about what is wrong with me, and then he got into a fight with our pastor, and I just felt like he hasn't gotten his own help, but he refuses to get help on his own, and I'm dealing with emotional verbal abuse. It's gotten physical, which it hasn't in a long time, but it was.
How long have you guys been married?
12 years.
Okay. And this has been going on your entire marriage?
Yes.
Is PTSD from his childhood? You're in Colorado Springs. Is it from the military? Is it all the above? What do you see as the source?
I'm thinking it's both,
okay.
The military and his family.
Okay. And has he ever admitted to this or had some recognition and ever a desire to get help for what he's struggling with?
Michelle, by the way,
no.
can you turn off your radio, Michelle? Just we're getting a little bit of feedback.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't. You know what? I was asked that initially when I called in, but I don't have a radio playing.
Okay.
That
well,
might
we'll
be
just
us.
carry on. Sorry
Yeah,
about
keep
that.
going.
Sorry about that, Chris.
I apologize if there's feedback.
Yeah, no worries.
What's happening? I will say he didn't for a long time show interest in getting help until I did, and then when I got help, I was able to see what was happening, and I started addressing it because I couldn't, and I didn't know how to verbalize it because I've had my own trauma, and I was unaware that this is not normal. And then when I got through my therapy, I realized what was happening. And so he was willing to come to marriage therapy with me after that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, after, failed marriage therapy, and really it was because I was like, I can't do this anymore and sit through every appointment where this is happening. I feel like you need to get help.
Well,
and
yeah.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, jumping in here. Are you guys living in the same house right now?
Yes.
Okay. And so still together, sharing a bedroom?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, because I think that, when the question comes at us is like, divorce or no divorce? Obviously, and does the Bible justify that? And so we're not primarily a theological show, though we take the scripture very, very seriously, and seek a fidelity to what God's instructions are for our life, obviously. But there's so many things along the way and so many potential other options. And I think that if there is emotional and physical and psychological abuse, verbal abuse, I should say, happening along the way, that's a thing that's like, again, one of the terms I say is hard no. I don't do that. And that may require a separation. And that separation... go ahead.
I feel like that's where God has, he's nudging me to do that. And every time I go to do that, it's where my husband uses biblical principles against me and says God hates divorce. And
for sure. But that's just that we have a term for that too, and that's spiritual abuse or spiritual manipulation. Okay, because you could do the same thing. You could go around and be like, yeah, he's told you to love me as Christ loved the church, and Christ wasn't verbally abusive. It's like we could go with that all day long. Yeah. The bottom line is you getting strength and clarity on what is absolutely unacceptable and what he has to do to change for you to be in close proximity to him.
So, Michelle, I feel like there's more because he's made you the target, right? You are the target. Any history, and we're going to come back after a break, any history of pornography use, any type of acting out that you know of, either before or during your relationship, have you seen evidence of any of that? And we'll talk about it when we get back.
Yep, we will. Michelle, hold on.
My husband was involved with a pornography addiction. He was unfaithful. I called the wedding off. He stepped out on the marriage and ended up having a child.
The Restore Workshop is designed for a woman dealing with a man's sexual addiction issues.
My husband is a recovering sex addict. We're strip clubs, other ladies.
If you've been affected by betrayal, an emotional or physical affair, or pornography, the Restore Workshop will equip you with support and tools to help you through.
Restore has empowered me and has given me the tools to work through my anger, work through my pain, work through my confusion, and help me realize that I am worthy.
Being here and being surrounded by people who get it has given me my power back.
The Restore Workshop is coming to Orange County, California, February 24th through the 26th. To register or to find out more, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE or online at newlife.com.
Thank you, Restore. You have changed my life forever.
I have given to New Life regularly because I have so many people that I am referring to New Life who so benefit from the ministry. I just can't imagine what would happen in my area if New Life wasn't available to us.
You can help New Life Live stay on the air by joining Club New Life today. When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, we'll send you the new member thank you gift of all 8 100-day devotionals, including 100 Days of Prayer, 100 Days of Freedom from Depression, and 100 Days of Peace. There are also ongoing benefits like the monthly Club New Life CD or download, access to the Club New Life video library, quarterly resources, free shipping on purchased resources, discounts on workshops, and quarterly online meetings with Steve. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Support Club New Life, and together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places. Call 1-800-639-5433 to join Club New Life today. We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. We always talk about how we want to help you find that freedom. We've got a network of counselors and coaches across the country that can help you go to that next step of healing. And I can't say enough about the folks that we have that are committed to helping you. Right now, we are helping Michelle, who is in a difficult place. But Sheri, you started the conversation. Let's continue.
Yeah, so I know it was a bit of a cliffhanger with you, Michelle, but just wondering if there's been any evidence that you've seen.
The only evidence that I've seen that he might have had trauma before we were married and even before he went into the military is through his sister, who's more recently voiced that she had to get her own therapy because of what she went through as a child, which obviously he would have gone through as well, but he doesn't describe his childhood the same way she does.
So any pornography, any sexual compulsive acting out, anything that you've seen?
Yes, at the beginning there was pornography, and it was very light. It wasn't a lot, although I don't know how honest he's been about it.
Mm-hmm. So I think that in the military, there's a lot of pornography available, and it's just a way that the guys numb out. And I'm not minimizing it at all. It's just like a sieve. I'm not surprised that it was in your relationship in the beginning. I think what's happened is, my guess is that you got upset when you found it or heard about it, whatever, and then he's like, okay, I won't do that again, and it just went deeper underground. We were talking to a guy by the name of Sean on February 14th, actually, Valentine's Day, if you want to listen to that podcast, but we were talking about his rage and anger towards his wife, and he was trying to control her and manipulate her, and that's abusive. And let me just say this for the record. I don't think it's a marriage issue that you're dealing with. I think that it's a pornography and compulsive sexual acting out issue that's hidden, that you don't know about. And that's why he's making you wrong and bad. Because when somebody is compulsively sexually acting out, they pick fights with their spouses in order to make them wrong and bad, to give themselves a permission slip to go act out. So you end up being being abused. But people often look at the abuse and say that's the only problem. But the reason that I think it's deeper is because when there's long-term sexual acting out that's not being dealt with, it creates abusive cycles of gaslighting, of minimizing, of harm, of spiritualization, of, all those traumas. And I think you're on the other side of that.
Oh, my word. You have some wonderful insight. That makes a lot of sense.
What made the most sense for you?
That he would take things out on me to give himself the permission slip, because everything is a fight. If I am critical, it turns into an ugly fight, and then he disconnects, and he's not sleeping in the room for a day or two.
Of course he's not, because he's using, right? And so that, I want to say to you, it's not you, Michelle. It's what's happening around you. And so if you need to get out, to get safe, whatever you need to do to stick that, spoke in the wheel of what is hidden in order to get him into treatment. Now, if you were to ask him today, is it pornography? He'd probably say no, because he's going to make it about you. But safety for yourself means removing yourself to get a clear perspective and start wondering about what is going on that's causing it. Yeah, it's often the post-traumatic stress, right? Because the trauma is underneath the acting out, but there's something there. And I get so frustrated at times, because I think as marriage therapists, we try to deal with the issues of abuse, but nobody is asking the questions or requiring a deeper truthfulness around this initial underlying porn addiction that just, I think, went deeper underground, and it's probably gotten bigger.
Well, in a previous show, we also addressed the Titanic. And to your point, if we're not addressing pornography or sexually acting out in marriage or any other addictive behaviors in marriage, we really are rearranging the chairs on the deck of the Titanic.
Yeah, it's true. Moving chairs over here and here.
Yeah.
I mean, there's strip clubs, there's massage parlors. There is so much available today on the dark sexual web for people to participate in. But if we're not thinking about that as a possibility, we're leaving the couple in a very powerless place.
And stuck, and including him. If he doesn't address this in his life, because this is what people stuck in pornography need to know, whatever pain, frustration, or challenges that you are medicating with pornography or sexually acting out, you're only accentuating on the back end. Those things only grow. That's why the mood, the state of being only becomes worse and worse and worse.
Yeah. Well
so
said.
True. Well, Michelle, we are going to be praying for this situation. We're going to send you a copy of Sheri's book, Intimate Deception, Healing the Wounds of Sexual Betrayal. And, if he is willing, I don't know that this is your first step, but Every Man's Battle would be a great place for him to get some of this resolved. And, we just want to encourage you we'll get you connected with a therapist in your area for you, and to get moving forward in this healing process. It's tough to take the risk, but it's worth doing. We are going to go and we're going to talk with Dean, who's calling us from Luskin, Texas. Watches us on YouTube. We're grateful for our YouTube family. You can subscribe and like us there and help other people know about New Life. Hi, Dean. Thanks for calling. How can we help you today?
Hi. Thanks for taking my call. My wife's brother died tragically at the end of November, and it was very public. Our sister-in-law is very depressed and just wants to be with her husband, my wife's brother, in heaven. They have 3 children, 19, 11, and 7, and the middle child is also having struggles and is on medication and in counseling. We're going to go visit them next week to try to help turn perspective around. My wife plans to connect her with a local GriefShare and will attend with our sister-in-law. Sis knows she needs counseling, but she doesn't feel like talking. She's talked with her husband when he was alive and not really with anyone else. What other suggestions do you have for my wife and me for helping the family, especially my sister-in-law?
Oh, gosh, Dean, your heart, we hear it, and we love that you want to attend to their grief or her grief. Chris, let's start with you because I know we just talked about grief, and there's just a couple of steps in that direction, but where would you
Well,
begin?
Dean, I just want to affirm what you're already doing, is that what grief needs first and foremost is a loving presence. We put a lot of pressure on ourselves to have the right words, and really it's in our attempt to relieve or rescue a person out of their grief. I always say this, Job's friends did a fantastic job the first 7 days. They did exactly what Job needed.
I remember that
story. Right? And they kind of messed it up when they started trying to give reasons for what was happening to Job that was outside of their direct knowledge, speaking for God where God had not spoken. But I love the idea, because I just want to reinforce this. I love the idea that your wife would go to GriefShare with your sister-in-law, and that she's not alone in that process. And as you're there, I do think that it's important to give perspective. I think it's important for her to have a mirror into other aspects going on, especially the care of her children, and then to offer support, because what it sounds like in her situation is that the grief that she's experiencing, which is tremendous, like I don't want to minimize that in iota, but it's also, I believe, compounded. That her reaction to it, her response to it, is showing that there's a lot of other stuff in her life, pain points in her life that remain unaddressed. And this is sort of like more than the straw that broke the camel's back, because, again, it's its own incredibly painful and traumatic experience, but there's more going on. And just to keep encouraging her and to stay with her in the process for the longer haul.
Chris, one more thing though, what would you, how can Dean and his wife help the kids? Because they're at this crucial loss. I mean, their whole lives have changed because of this.
Well, I think that the kids, what they need in here is both safety and comfort. And so you're going to want maybe the kids to open up, but they're going to deal with it in their own way. And ultimately, we want them all to get into some grief counseling for sure.
Yeah. It's weird, Dean. My brother committed suicide about 3 years ago. And that presence that Chris was talking about, like, I remember who was there. And I remember who was there to just sit with me. Not fix me. Sit with me and ask questions about it. It's counterintuitive, because we think if we ask questions about the death or the hard parts of it or what it was like for her, we think that's going to make her worse, but it actually gives her a place to talk.
That's right. That's right. We'll be praying for you guys.
We all face days where life throws us a curveball and our routines or plans get disrupted. Things we wanted to do are forced to take a backseat to the unexpected demands of the day. If you normally listen to New Life Live on a radio station, well, you might not be able to that day. And on these hectic days when you're feeling stressed or frazzled, hearing the sound of counsel given on New Life Live is just what you need to navigate the unexpected things of life.
Every time I'm troubled or I have a problem, I'll cut on New Life, and there's always something that is said that is helpful to me.
By listening, I have learned more than I can ever express about how God wants me to live.
Download the New Life app for the easiest way to listen wherever you are and at a time that's convenient for you, or watch the show on our YouTube channel. You can even subscribe to our podcast from your favorite podcast provider. You never have to miss a day of New Life. Wherever you are, we are. Daniel Grossman on coaching.
Coaches are really focused on the future and helping people to develop those skills and those strategies to help them move forward in their life. A coach really partners with you to focus on things like personal growth or health goals, spiritual growth, helping you develop in your career, or possibly strengthening your relationships, or maybe even breaking free from a negative pattern.
If you need a coach for life, your career, relationships, your health and fitness, leadership, and more, call New Life today and ask about the New Life Coaching Network. Our coaches have been trained and screened with the same intensive process we use for our network counselors.
Coaches use different techniques. Some like to use strategic questions and accountability, ultimately empowering you to take those next steps toward your goals.
Take control of your life and take action to achieve your goals. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE and talk to us about getting a New Life coach today.
I really believe that everyone can use a coach in their corner.
1-800-NEW-LIFE. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. We are going to send Dean a copy of the Life Recovery Workbook on Grief. It'll give you some insight into these next steps. But boy, you are a good family member to just be so prepared as you go in
So
there.
beautiful.
Yeah. We're going to go to Carrie, who's calling us from Miami, Florida, listens on YouTube as well. And we're grateful that you do. Carrie, how can we help you today?
Hi, this has just been a real tough day, and hearing all these stories about grief, it made me want to call because I think it was Sheri who had mentioned a lady who had a problem with her brain always going and just not being able to stop it.
Yep.
Well,
yep.
I have that and have had that many years, since 1986. I know the night that it happened, and I haven't really been able to get sleep. They said I have insomnia, and they put me on medication, and the medication doesn't work any longer. So I am grieving so many years of lost sleep. I don't know if it's sadness or anger or fear. I'm almost out of control with all of it. Sometimes I think maybe the best way would be out of it sometimes.
Oh,
Try to go to
sweetheart.
sleep and not wake up.
I hear you. We hear you. It's like feeling so trapped without a solution. And we want to give you that today. We want to give you another direction. How would that be?
Great.
Yeah. What happened in 1986? Just can you give us the long and short of it?
It was a 1 year anniversary for a wedding that I had married someone I knew I shouldn't have. And he was very abusive to me emotionally and to on my family, and said all these negative things. And 2 or 3 counselors had called him a narcissist and schizoid affective, and that I should leave him. But I had just became a Christian at that time, and I wanted to please the Lord, so I just stayed with it for 22 years.
Oh my goodness!
Until finally the hospital separated me from him. So
the hospital, meaning
started.
he got sick, or he went into inpatient, or you went into inpatient? What do we mean, the hospital?
I had to go into the hospital.
Okay. Bless your sweetheart. You know, my heart just breaks for you, because the amount of abuse that you lived with for 22 years in the name of trying to please God, there's something really broken about that perspective. And I think there's a lot of women like you, or maybe even men like you, that are on the other end of abusive relationship, chronically abusive, that feel it's their duty to submit to that. And Leslie Vernick has a book called The Emotionally Destructive Marriage, and I love how she phrases it, that God never invites us into that kind of a treatment, right? But but I think we grow up with Christian principles thinking that we're supposed to do it. So I don't think your brain is suffering from just 1 year. I think your brain is struggling with 22 years of being on the other end of a spear of abuse. Now that sets your brain up to be hypervigilant, to feel like that, because the brain doesn't know that the marriage is over. The brain is trying to keep you safe, on edge, prepared for any other abusive person that might come into your life, but that's exhausting. The tool, and I want to hear from Chris as well, but I want to give you a tool. It's called Cereset, Cereset. I don't know if it's cereset.org or cereset.com, but Amy Grant used Cereset, and she did a great testimony out there. But the call today came from some people that were at Cereset, and I like the tool. But they do a lot to help the brain sleep, because if our brain is stuck in flight, or if it's stuck in frenzy, those are stages of post-traumatic stress. It doesn't know how to relax again, and they help to put your brain into a polyvagal state, which means rest, and they help to turn that lever off in a way that, it's beautiful. I've watched it happen with a number of people. So I want to hear from Chris, but I want you to write that down, because I want you to check that out and maybe consider
Can you
that.
spell that one more time?
Yeah, it's Cereset. And they've got people all over the nation. So,
Well, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was a recipient and a benefactor of that treatment.
You did?
Yes,
I did not know
It was fantastic. Yeah, because Carrie, also there's this thing called a double bind, and I'll use the sanitized version. It's darned if you do, darned if you don't.
Right.
So you're in this situation where if you stay, you are unsafe and harmed over and over and over and over and over again. You're abused. But if you leave, you are also unsafe, because you're outside of God's will or pleasure.
Yes.
Okay. So I will say that's what's wrong with this perspective. As Sheri was saying, there's something broken with this perspective. Yeah. And for sure. Because it is not God's will that you stay in an abusive relationship. And
I found out too late.
That's okay.
It's been 20 years.
I know it's been 20 years, and it was late. It was late, but I want to challenge you. It's not too late.
It's true. That brain can heal, girl.
It can heal. Now, the Quakers, this is getting a little heady, but follow me for a second. Indulge me for a second. The Quakers have this really cool theological belief called the eternal now. And what the eternal now means is that all eternity exists in the current moment. In the current moment, all eternity exists. Now, this was long before Einstein got on the scene, and Einstein actually proved that to be true with the theory of relativity. But I want to apply that today, because I hear this all the time, I'm too late. It's too late. And I'm like, we got eternity here. You're right on time. You might actually be early, as far as we know, because the only time that we have is right now. And so the time to take action, and we could wish that we would have done this in year 1, 2, 3, or anywhere between 1 and 24, 22. Regardless, the regret will not help us. The action today will help us. Looking up Cereset online, starting to take action to heal the brain. And I would love for you to get into some therapy that would not just address relational and spousal abuse, but that would also start addressing where you have been religiously or spiritually damaged in this process, and begin the restoration of a proper relationship back to yourself and proper relationship back to God.
It's funny. I know Michelle is listening to every word Chris is saying. Michelle, we had her on the call today, but you and Michelle are very similar in the way that you've been on the other side of harmful abuse. So glad we could talk with both of you today and just bring awareness out there that it's not okay.
Well, and one of the things that we are going to do is emotional freedom online, Chris. That's one of the ways that we can help. And that could be something, Carrie, that you join us online March 16th. Chris will be talking, Dr. Jackie Neck-Harris. There's always something to do. right? And we do have eternity. Eternity's been set in our hearts. And so I just want to encourage you, make today the day. Call us, 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We'll get you on a path and a process. Thank you, Sheri. Thank you, Chris. And thank you, listeners. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or write to us at New Life Ministries, P.O. Box 1029, Lake Forest, California, 92609. Please join us again on Monday for New Life Live.
Thanks for watching today. We love helping people. I hope you sense that. And we know that there's always hope if you find the right resource. Now, if something we've said to somebody else applies to you, that's fantastic. That's what we're hoping for. But also, if you want to join us directly, you can call 1-800-229-3000 between 1 and 3 Eastern Time, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Those are the best times to get through. And while you're here on YouTube, check out these other videos that we've done to help people see where they could grow or a different path to take. And if you do that, would you give us a thumbs up on the video, and please subscribe to this channel. There are many ways that we can help you outside of the radio program, and it's very hard for some to pick up a phone and dial 1-800-NEW-LIFE, but when you do, we put you in touch with somebody who cares about you, knows all the resources out there, and they're going to find the best for you. There is no reason to struggle alone. I hope to see you tomorrow. Hope you'll invite somebody else to come and join that maybe needs just a little bit of help along the way. I'll see you next time.